Welcome to A-Level and AP Physics. In today's lesson, we will discuss one very important and typical type of question on ultrasound, especially on the use of ultrasound to obtain diagnostic information about internal body structures. This type of question is very common in past papers. You just need to understand few points to answer. For this question, we need to outline the use of ultrasound to obtain diagnostic information about internal body structures. This question is simply asking us how ultrasound is used to obtain information about internal body structure for diagnostic purpose. Means how informations are obtained using ultrasound. First of all, let's try to understand what is acoustic impedance of a medium and what is the effect of difference in acoustic impedance of different media on reflection of ultrasound waves. These 2 points are very important. Let me explain to you first of all what is acoustic impedance. Acoustic impedance, we can use letter capital Z, means the symbol for acoustic impedance is capital Z, and this is equal to rho times C. Z is acoustic impedance. Why we call this is acoustic impedance? Why we don't call this is resistance? In fact, this is resistance of the medium, but we call this is acoustic impedance because in this case ultrasound waves are not passing through only one type of tissue. They are passing through different type of tissues. That's the reason we call this is acoustic impedance instead of resistance. You need to understand what this symbol rho is representing. This is representing density of the medium. Sometimes in questions they will only ask you what is acoustic impedance. For that purpose you can write down acoustic impedance is the product of density of medium times the speed of wave in the medium. So this is density of the medium. Rho is density of the medium and C is speed of wave in the medium. Now we are talking about ultrasound. You can say this is the speed of ultrasound in the medium. We can simply write down speed of wave in the medium. So these 2 points you need to understand, these 2 symbols, speed in the medium. Next thing we need to understand, if there are 2 mediums, as you can see here we have gel. Let's say this is medium 1 and this is representing the skin, and let's say this is medium 2. If Z for these 2 media is different, mean if Z1 is totally different than Z2, means Z1 is much greater than Z2, in this case most of the waves will be reflected. So we can simply say most of the waves will be reflected. Most of the waves reflected. If there is a big difference between acoustic impedance of 2 media. If Z1 is close to Z2, or simply we can say if Z1 is equal to Z2, in this case no reflection takes place. No reflection, you can simply say, occurs if 2 media they have the same acoustic impedance. We can also understand in a different way, means in one medium acoustic impedance is the same, so there is no reflection in single medium. We can also understand this one by intensity reflected divided by intensity, means incident intensity. This is equal to Z2 minus Z1, means the difference between acoustic impedance of 2 media, square of that divided by the square of the sum of the acoustic impedance. Now in this case you can see if Z1 is equal to Z2, this will be 0. It means no reflection. If Z2 is much bigger or Z1 is much bigger than Z2, in this case most of the waves will be reflected. Very important point, we need to understand this. Let's try to understand why doctors use gel on the skin of patient. Means any patient who go for ultrasound, they will use gel on the skin of the patient. As you can see here on the belly of this pregnant woman, there is a gel and here is ultrasound probe, and this is a little press inside. That is also very important. It's little bit pressed inside. Let me explain to you this one with help of this very simple figure. You can see this is the gel. Actually this is the boundary of the gel, and you can see this all is gel on the skin, and this black line, this is representing skin. Why do we need to apply this gel? This gel actually, this is acting as a coupling medium. It means it is coupling two different media. I mean, it is coupling air with skin. That's the reason we call this is coupling medium. And the purpose of this one is to reduce impedance change between two media. Impedance change, it reduces impedance change. So very important point to understand. Let me explain to you little more about ultrasound before we write our final answer. First thing you need to understand is the probe. As you can see in this figure, this is representing the probe. So this black one, this is representing the probe. In this figure, you will see the whole process. So this is the probe. You can also simply understand this one is the probe. And the purpose of probe is to transmit ultrasound pulses and also to receive ultrasound pulses. In exam, sometimes they can ask you why ultrasound waves are emitted in pulses. Because the probe is acting as a transmitter and it is also acting as a receiver or detector. That's the reason ultrasound waves are emitted in pulses. Next, if you look at the next one, blue one, this is gel. This is placed on the skin, and this is acting as a coupling medium as we have already discussed. And next is the skin. This gel and skin, the acoustic impedance is almost same, so simply we can say all the ultrasound, they will enter the body and there will be no reflection. But when these ultrasound pulses, they will reach this tissue, there is a change in medium. Some of ultrasound will be reflected back from this boundary. And amount of reflection is very important. Amount of reflection tells us information about boundary, means the nature of boundary. We can write down amount of reflection gives us information about nature of boundary, or simply we can say about type of tissues. So very important point to understand. About nature of boundary, or we can say about type of tissues, because different tissues, they have different acoustic impedance. If there is greater amount of reflection, it means there is a big difference between acoustic impedance of two media. If less reflection, it means the acoustic impedance is almost same. Then these ultrasound waves, they will continue traveling in this medium. There will be no reflection because there is no change in acoustic impedance. So when these ultrasound pulses, they will reach at this point, again reflection will take place. So some of ultrasound waves, they will be reflected back. So they will be reflected back. Now, based on the delay time, means first of all, this will be reflected back. This will reach detector. But these ultrasound waves, they will continue traveling forward. But at this point, they will reflect back. And then they will reach the detector. So there is a delay time. And delay time, we can simply say this is delta t. And that is the time it will travel in this tissue from here to here and then back from here to here, and that is the difference or the time delay when these two pulses are detected by this. I mean, this is the first pulse detected and this one will be the second. So there is a time delay, that is delta t. Based on this time delay, we can find the thickness of the tissue if we know the speed of the wave in the medium. So simply we can say thickness will be equal to speed times delay time, means the gap of time between two pulses divided by 2. So we can find the thickness of the tissue. And this ultrasound wave, in these pulses, they will continue. When they will reach this boundary, again there will be reflection from this. Again, we can determine the thickness of the tissue or part of the body, and also we can determine the nature of boundary. That's all what we need to understand before we write our final answer. This is how you can write a proper answer. It simply means that you can write your answer in a little different way, but these points has to be in your answer. In your answer, if you have mentioned ultrasound pulse, you will get 1 mark. So this is B mark. If you have mentioned about reflected at boundaries, you will get second B mark. If you have mentioned about the use of the gel, it is used to minimize reflection at skin, you will get the third B mark. And the fourth mark you will get if you have mentioned about time delay between generation, means between transmission of ultrasound pulse and detection gives information about the thickness, you will get the fourth mark. And the fifth mark is about intensity of reflected waves, means the amount of reflection gives information about nature of the boundary. If you have written this one in your answer, you will get the last fifth mark. You will get total 5 marks if you have mentioned these 5 points in your answer. And this is typical type of question, so it's better little bit practice and try to remember these points.